in Alberta don't generally include IT as part of their business planning very much. Budget planning to begin with, and then IT has to work within that. So.
Absolutely. And this is Mike from Shift Support. And what he's talking about is leadership leaving out one of the most important things in their business. I got to welcome everybody to Leadership Line of Sight. Welcome, and welcome to Shift Support. You guys are really changing the way that people look at their IT. There's so many people that look at IT like it's a plumber. Like something broke, you got to come in and fix it. And meanwhile, what you guys are doing is helping the performance of the people that are asking the other questions, which is, I lead a business of humans and computers. Let's talk about what's possible now. I'm here with Scott Connors, Chief Change Officer of Crankset Group. As always, my name is Taylor Hack. I am a serial entrepreneur and the marketing strategist of Gravidia. Here with us again, Morgan McCollum of Shift Support. And this time you brought your partner with you. That's fantastic. Good to see everybody here. The Mike Alexander, welcome, and thank you for stopping by as well. Did you get a chance? Are you here to just correct everything that we talked about with Morgan?
I can't say I was overly prepared for coming on today, but I'm definitely here to have fun and have some good chats. I'm looking forward to it.
See, that's what we wanted from this. We wanted it to be a hang. We wanted it to be the situation, like, because we have great conversations whether or not people are listening. You know, there's so many things that we talk about, and honestly, like, I'm so glad that I have the time to participate in these types of conversations. But there's just so many people that don't. Scott, how's your week?
Always good weeks, Taylor. How about yours?
Oh, man, my eyes are so wide right now. Like, there's just so much that's taking place as the world kind of twists and turns. Right? We're getting a lot of news this week, and a lot of people are trying to make plans in their business. Like, I just got out a 2-day session with our team. We do a 2-day session this time of year, and then we're going to take a day out of the market every 90 days to talk about alignment with the plan and what's taking place. And I think that was a kind of a good heartbeat for the world the way it was. But what do you think is necessary now? I want to take this to Scott first. Scott, like when we're talking about business planning for 2022, what do you think the cadence should be in something that's moving so fast?
No more than 90 days. Have a 90-day work plan. Work your plan. Stay with your mission. Stay on mission. Connect your waypoints. Reassess from ground zero again in 90 days. Supply chains will loosen. Budgets will come out. Spending will be slow in January and then pick up pace dramatically as budgets get finalized and approved. Capital markets are open. Equity markets are strong. Stock prices are highest they've been for a lot of companies that are public. Now's the time to kind of reassess everything and level up everything within your enterprise and have a 90-day working plan to get that done. So take the first 90 days to decide what infrastructure spend you want. Take 90 days to really assess the client experience and what it feels like coming out of the gate. Don't be so plan oriented as much as be more reactive oriented at the top level to what changes we see coming out of the gate in January. I think 3 words apply here. Let your people get rested, tell your people to get ready, and expect a first quarter that's going to be relentless.
That's my kind of, I like that. So for me, turbulence and opportunity, they're just married, right? And I like the idea because when you take a look at my businesses right now, they're very agile. But that's going to be a different message for companies that are running larger ships. Now, when you take a look at like how necessary how your humans are working with your computers, what do you think going into 2022? I don't know who wants to catch this, whether or not it's Mike or Morgan. But what do you think the companies that don't win in 2022, what are they going to fail to do?
They're going to fail to be agile and expand, and their businesses aren't going to be able to adapt to the new markets where we see, for example, from the employee side, they're all working from home. That side of the company is changing. and then the entire security world, those users are getting compromised in a different way since COVID started than before. So the compromising for security has changed, plus the users at home and the businesses themselves. And if you're not adapting your company to just breathe different air and focus on your needs every 90 days rather than just a once a year IT meeting, then you're going to fail. And you can't keep up with your competitors who are doing that. And a big part about the industry that Mike and I are in is that month after month, not even 90 days. I mean, every couple of weeks, we see security threats that are not just again for someone else, they're new. It's a new technique, it's a new flavor. It's like we're all in the kitchen making recipes and someone makes this crazy recipe and we're like, we got to protect all of our clients this week. This is a priority. And this is a problem because they don't know they're going to get it. Sometimes other countries in the world get hit faster. Europe, US, everything comes from Russia. Everyone knows that. But companies get compromised in other countries before Canada does. Sometimes we get a little bit of a heads up so we can protect them first. But with Scott saying that it's every 90 days, that schedule isn't up to us. It's up to people getting compromised.
My biggest concern with the rapid planning and the biggest changes that we're experiencing right now is companies are going to try and move and pivot so quickly. They're not going to think about the security ramifications of the changes they're making to their business, the technology security implications. It's fun and exciting and wonderful, and your business will probably thrive in this wonderful world where you're growing so quickly, you're pivoting and planning for 90 days out. But if I just caution change, and please involve your technology provider, your technology partner, because implementing these new processes can definitely leave your business open to holes.
Yeah, I've been preaching this a lot, Mike. This is a really valid point. What we're seeing right now across the business spectrum is growth. And let me be really clear here. Hopefully I don't stutter. Growth is bad because growth is uncontrolled, and growth isn't a controlled narrative, and growth comes and just keeps coming at you, and you don't have systems in place to adapt to that growth. Scale is controlled growth, and businesses need to think with a scale mindset. Not just, oh my goodness, we got 8 new customers, we need 22 new people and 42 new emails. Go, go, go. That's growth, and you're setting yourself up for big problems. Oh, we're getting a lot of new customers in. Let's build our systems first. Let's make sure we're safe and secure. Let's make sure we're connected. Teams is a great example. Let's make sure those people are trained in the proper way to use their VPNs. Let's make sure that we have all of our proper protocols in place as we absorb those new customers. That's building for scale and not for growth. That's a great point you make, Mike.
Okay, so when we take a look at part of scaling is cleaning up before you invite others in. I definitely think that if you're looking past that, like the stumbling blocks with new teammates, man, do those ever cost you? Especially if you really got the opportunity of great talent. Now it's your job to develop that talent and retain that talent. And the best way to tell them that they're in the wrong spot is if they show up and things don't work, right? So we all know that, in our houses, we're supposed to do like a furnace cleaning every couple of years. What is the frequency that you should be auditing technology?
Continuously. It's not a one schedule fits all. It's depending on the way your business operates and the governance and compliance requirements you have. Sometimes it should be a continuous audit. Sometimes it should be quarterly. Again, I think depending on what industry your business is in and depending on the amount of growth or scale you're experiencing, depends on that frequency of auditing.
Morgan, I see something with you. You got something to add?
Yeah, I'm a man of analogies. And if you don't like that, then just boot me out. But it's it's all about it, like a company with a bunch of trucks. If some of those trucks are being used a crazy amount, then they need additional maintenance, additional eyes on the machine, even get replaced. But a truck that barely gets used, if it's good, it's good. And if an environment doesn't change, then it doesn't really need to be looked at, but it actually does from a security perspective because everything is always changing. So even for something that's used a lot and the company's changing a bunch, change can be good with the right people involved. And that you can answer that with technology or non-technology, because so much of company growth has nothing to do with technology, and it's logistics, it's planning, it's communication, it's collaboration. But technology is a huge piece to be able to have different ways to expand. So that's my analogy.
Scott, you got an ad.
Yeah, I think he's, first of all, he's dead on, and that comes back to this whole philosophy of taking care of the whole fleet, and not just the trucks that are busy, but make sure the whole fleet's ready, willing, and able to execute and to start their engines and go, because that's how you absorb growth. So some of the fleets being used more than others, take good care of them, but make sure that all of them are ready to go. And since we're in the analogies business, it's like a flight deck on an aircraft carrier. You're always ready for battle, always battle ready. The whole fleet's ready. The whole system is ready. The whole system is continuously training, which in the IT world, I believe is reevaluating, reassessing, and monitoring. And that's what Shift does a good job of, is creating that right mindset for the client.
So many people look past the performance of this. And what I mean by that is that businesses are essentially humans and computers working together to achieve goals together. Like, that is a cybernetic organism by definition. And so right now we know that probably the biggest tools that so many need is going to be involved with their humans and computers. And what I mean by that is look at the power of the divisions or the top performers in this year. You got to say that your key players, the people that got the ball the most, if you have them, was HR and IT. Do you guys agree? Like, the humans and computers changed so much this year, working from home, hybrid workplaces. And the things that people don't realize is, to follow the truck analogy, imagine that group of trucks is being parked in the same place every night, and then you end up with a rodent problem. That's what cybercrime is. Because the way that things fail will be totally unpredictable. One truck won't be able to brake one time because the rodents got to the brakes. And another truck will fail in a different way. It won't be the same components. You won't be able to troubleshoot it the same. It will just be chaos. And I think that there's so many people that are dealing with that now. Mike, you're smiling.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, as much as I like to bring it back to IT, I actually think that this year, culture, the people who HR or the people who are responsible for culture internally to the organization are the ones that are probably struggling the most and have to, the massive culture shift we've had with the majority of companies moving to work from home or for periods of time. I think I couldn't imagine being in that world.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, since I spend a lot of my time on building companies' cultures, a great way to show an employee or a stakeholder that they're valued, that they're empowered, and that they matter, make sure they have the latest tools and technologies to do their jobs the best way they can possibly do it. Make sure that they're up to speed. Make sure they've got enough RAM, or however the IT phrase is. Make sure that they have all the right tools, that we've invested in you as a stakeholder. And a great way to do that is with IT infrastructure upgrades.
Yeah, you don't want to give your new starting pitcher like leftover cleats. Like, hey, I think we got a uniform your size from Billy that used to play here. That's the wrong message.
A big part that's happened in the last couple of years, and goddamn, this whole conversation is about COVID, but in the last couple of years, it's a situation that you don't have a company without people. And those people used to use a technology that was usually in a fixed office or two offices, but basically offices. And now the people moved, the technology moves. So now the technology has VPNs and whatever tools, and it's all remote. But the humans are remote too. So HR takes care of the people, technology can take care of the portable workforce. And you're right, Taylor, it's two huge departments in the company that can take care of the lifeblood and the pulse of the company for it to be able to scale. Because you can't scale a company if you don't know the people, and if the technology's garbage, just give up.
I couldn't agree more. And really, when you take a look at what we have been covering off here, that leadership is mainly to make environments where the culture can thrive, right? That's a big part of it. And then when you talk about like how all of that is communicated and what people actually experience of their job, some people would call it an employee value proposition. You can see different companies understanding their people more. You can see different companies that are like, oh, we're going to solve this a different way. Let's like this year, I sent out a list to talk about which holidays people valued. And because what I realized is that since in my real estate team, there's no such thing as stat holidays to our clients. But we also know that some of our teammates are attached to different holidays because of the activities they do. And some of them would gladly trade that for another opportunity for a break. And so to just like play off the map we're given was part of talking about like who we are and understanding who we are.
I think the bigger point, the value of IT infrastructure is it is your major productivity tool. If your IT goes down, your productivity goes to zero. Period. If you don't have resiliencies and plan Bs built into your infrastructure, when your computer systems are sideways or down and the help desk at shift is blowing up and all the phone lines are lighting up like a Christmas tree, effectively that company's productivity is nosediving to zero.
Yeah, and actually the funniest thing is the philosophy of it. There's a great book called Zen and Motorcycle Maintenance. And or Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And what they talk about is the value of a single component. So at the moment that one nut in a motorcycle fails that is required for the motorcycle to operate, what is the value of that single nut? It's an equal value to the motorcycle. And so have you ever been into a place where their point of sale fails? Like, retail with cash registers that go out?
Oh,
Crippled, right? Not only is it crippled, but they shut down the store immediately for security threat, right? Like there's it's so interesting to see how things break. What do you guys see? Like for those people that fail to plan, what are the things that you know are under their bed right now?
That's a tough one. I think we see a lot of people who fail to plan for evergreening. The constant upgrade. I think I like the analogy of giving your start pitcher old cleats. I think when someone new typically joins, they'll most likely get the old computer, and I think evergreening is definitely something that should be consistently planned for.
Yeah, so then they would also have to understand like it'd be like the failure cycle or the renewal calendar.
Mm-hmm.
They would call it in real estate, it's called a reserve fund study. And what you're looking for is to basically take all the components and see when they would be likely to fail. Yeah, I noticed we might be getting a little bit of an audio loop here. I'm not sure if there's anybody on speakers, but you might have to just touch them down a bit. All right. So so when we take a look at like where those like what the calendar looks like for renewal, I think that this is the fear. Talk me through that, Scott. Is the reason that people don't look at this is because computers are expensive and technology is always that like break it when it fails things?
I think the number one common thread of poor rationale that I see is understanding the value proposition. If you woke up for work tomorrow and you had a long commute and you had a client meeting and you had to be there by 9 and your car didn't start, you're done.
Fair enough.
The value proposition of not having a continuous investment in your IT infrastructure is your inability to understand how to run a business, period. When Mike had mentioned planning, they plan for budget, and then IT departments have to work within those budgets. IT should have the freedom to set its own budget. IT should go and present a budget versus being given a budget. There's a reason that CTOs are some of the highest paid folks in thriving organizations. There's a reason they're on the executive committees. There's a reason they're board members. There's a reason they have a very significant vested interest and say in the decisions that are made at a financial level with the companies in which they're employed. The role of CTO needs to be assigned to every business, regardless of its size or shape. Somebody needs to take command and control of the IT piece. And if you think about it in terms of, okay, who heads up our IT? It's the same person that comes over and tries to fix your computer by rebooting it every time it doesn't work in a call center environment. It's the person who has a passion for that IT presence, who wants to help, who has very, some educational background. It doesn't need to be a new person that you hire that comes in with a high salary and wage and benefits. It more than likely exists within your company today. It's that person, and all of you know who that person is. If you're listening, you're going, oh, I got to talk to George, or I got to talk to Bob, or I got to talk to Susie. That's the person. Go to them and say, what should we do? What aren't we doing? What can we do better? And then reach out to a third-party resource like a Shift and set up that 30-minute free consult, or however Shift has that conversation initially, and have the conversation and let that person talk to the professionals and let them assess what he's saying, make some suggestive, maybe some corrective measures, and know that that person has a resource outside the operations. That is a CTO role. It doesn't need a CTO title.
But Scott, that interesting point you bring up there, it's the fact that yes, today CTO, awesome, let's send it. But how long has that been a thing in companies? Because 20 years ago, you didn't need a CTO. 15 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, probably should have. 5 years ago, it'd be a really good idea. Today, need it. There's been a transformation of the IT guy that 20 years ago, the only thing he did was open up your desktop, change out parts, boot it back up, and it works. The network, well, I just plug in some wires and hope for the best. Technology has evolved from just the IT guy to a CTO piece in the C-suite making corporate decisions and 5-year planning. And I don't feel that in the industry of the world it's been adopted yet that technology is being treated as a partner instead of a line item.
Right.
To build on your point of that IT needs to come, or technology services needs to bring their own budget. It's not in the mentality that it's needed. It's just, we pay the power bill. I don't care how much power we use. It's a monthly power bill, and we just hopefully business runs, and it ends up coming back as a cost center. But it's that transformation of how long has that CTO been around? Like Scott, how long have you seen companies suggesting, then requiring, needing, then requiring a CTO?
Yeah, IBM adapted the thought pattern of CTO in the early 90s. I know the Boca Raton office in Florida was still to this day remains a friendly client of mine on some individual levels. And really they adopted, hey, who do we talk to at this other company over here? We're trying to sell, say, to a large hospital network, right? Who do we talk to? Who heads up your computers? And the board kind of goes, those are one of those. Right.
Yep.
And so the adaptive the adaptive thought pattern to having someone owning the technology piece was where I saw it begin. And then it's sort of flatlined. Not everybody really embraced it. And then when the internet and servers, we started to see server rooms, and, everybody has their own servers and they're starting to hold their own data, internally. Right. Those were great days. The storage tech days with the disk array data storage technology. That created an environment. Okay, we need to get a specialist in here, right? And so it was almost an outsource line item, to your point. And as companies have scaled correctly, and those computers have gone down, or they have been compromised, or people have taken technology out of their building and shared it with competitors, or sold it to a different nation state, there's enough examples of the downside that have increased the value of the CTO role. And I'm really adamant when I go into a new company, one of the first things that I'll look at is their organizational chart. Mm-hmm. And guys, 8 out of 10 times, I don't see a CTO or any type of role or computers in. I don't even see it on the org chart.
No.
And so this conversation and the value that a shift brings to have a third-party resource available for those companies that don't have a place on their org chart, this is where you guys are, to me, are innovative and disruptive to the industry. Okay, we get it. You don't have a CTO. We get it. There's nothing on your org chart. We get all that. We're here to be that virtual piece for you. That's the kind of disruptive innovation I think the IT industry needs. So I don't think it's incumbent on the companies. I think it's incumbent on the IT industry to offer that solution. And unless I'm reading Shift Support wrong, that's exactly what you guys do, isn't it?
To a point, I'm gonna jump in here. I struggle with the CTO world with SMEs. I think there's people who can definitely wear a technology hat, as have that as part of their role. But I worry in the at least in the organizations we see, there's so many silos or different products people are spinning up that one person can't just own technology in the sub 100s. It's not feasible, and I think that's where the technology committee comes in, where the budget can be built as a team, and then that's where a shift would 100% fit in. Like let's talk, let's understand what this division needs and what this division needs, and let's work collaboratively. I struggle with that personally. So yeah.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Actually, I think you're dead on. I mean, a lot of these companies are like running 8 different softwares, 2 different accounting softwares. They got an app for this and an app for that, and they're paying for subscriptions of apps they're not even, and technology programs they're not even using anymore. You're absolutely right. I couldn't agree more, Mike. Well said.
So I'm gonna make sure that I heard you right. I think that originally when companies were approaching technology, they were treating it like a wear out market, maybe like a refrigerator. Nobody ever buys a refrigerator because of the latest refrigeration innovations, right?
Oh.
Now, look on contrast to that, where we have like personal cell phones. I don't know that many people wait for their personal cell phone to wear out. I think that instead it is the new features and performance that pulls them in to the idea of getting that new piece of equipment. Now, if that's the case, that is the shift in the perception of IT in the workplace. Is that it used to be this point where you were looking at it like as the old computer goes to the new person until it dies, whereas other companies are looking at this and saying, wait a second. Who wants to be bionic? We can design the best tools for you to increase your performance. And they're wanting into new technology in a way that's rapidly changing, their ability to acquire, develop, and retain talent. Because I can tell you that old ThinkPad, your next hire is going to judge you for that.
You know, that's interesting, Taylor, because when you compare fridges with the cell phone replacement, people don't take selfies with their fridge because it now generates water. And now someone else is jealous that their fridge doesn't make water. I think that's a similar analogy with the cell phone situation, because people see on Instagram that now they can do portrait photos with their iPhone, and their iPhone 6 potato can't actually do that. And they're jealous. And it hits them at home that they not only are now aware of a new feature, but they personally want it. And that's a different shift that we see, is that it's really hard during a value proposition for me to take all the client storage at the office and put it up into the cloud and scale that storage to basically unlimited amounts of what they would actually need. There's no value proposition. They don't see the data in the cloud. They see that server room and they know the warranty and accounting and everything and depreciating asset, whatever. It's hard to compare those analogies for value proposition and convincing, proposing, suggesting with our experience. It's a tough road.
I think
You know what, Morgan, real quick, there's nothing wrong with the 6, buddy. There's nothing wrong with the 6. All right. Let me
There
just
we
be clear.
go.
She works great.
Okay, so did you notice how the selfie, that one creates awareness of pain? And then change takes place when the pain of change drops below the pain you're in. So since you're not test driving everybody else's fridge, since you're not like enjoying their 4-day-old vegetables as compared to yours or whatever, where the performance is, the awareness of that pain, that's actually a blind spot. So as somebody who's in leadership, imagine that this was your experience, is that right now in your business, you have not looked at this since that mentality has changed. And right now, there are people that are thinking about leaving your business because it's been so difficult to adapt to the world changing this much with the restrictions of the junk you have them working with. And then on top of that, you don't have a future technology plan. So do you really have a future with technology?
I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to weigh in on this. I think it really depends on the generation of the owner. I believe there's some people who will look at their fridge and go, this is getting old. It is starting to rattle. It's now a liability for me, and I will look at it and say, I will proactively replace it. My cell phone is getting slower, and it is critical to me, the ability for me to operate in my day-to-day. So I'll proactively replace it. I might gift it down to someone else who doesn't have the criticality of it, but I honestly do believe that the ownership of the organization or of the device really depends on the mentality of the way that they look at the equipment, not just computers within their realm.
So Scott, would a CTO that's performing really well be able to tell to explain to the leadership the return on investment so that they could understand when the tech is over, when they're done, like the economic life of that?
Yeah, so usually there's a life cycle. A shelf life is the kind of verbiage that goes into the budget. This is our 2-year buy. We'll replace this every 2 years. It's that kind of the functional obsolescence or the forecasted functional obsolescence of the hard asset. The soft assets are usually a productivity measurement. It takes us right now, the data is telling us 2 hours of manpower to process an order through the system, because Bob puts the order in his sales desk, and the CRM takes it in the proposal, and then accounting gets it, and then accounts payable for the bills and the job costing and all the functionalities around the process. If we adapt this software or this C-suite type software versus the 3 software modules we're using now, productivity will increase by this. So you won't have to double your accounting department. You can keep it the same size. So the return on investment comes about depending upon whether it's a hard or soft asset, software or hardware purchase.
Okay, so if those conversations aren't taking place in a business, because as we grow, we find that these become pain points, and they're normally revealed by just coming into contact with great people, in my experience. So on occasion, maybe whoever you were working with, they go out of business or change, or you just realize that you're looking for something new. And then you come into contact with somebody who wants to help beyond what they're just able to do. Now, if we were looking at someone who was looking to action this, what I'm hearing from you is the first thing would be to get an understanding of who wants to be involved. So Scott, you were kind of alluding to if you ask an office who is help, you have identified your leader.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
at least your point of contact, right?
Okay.
Right?
So now you're starting to reveal who should be in the room. Right? And that might be first, second, and third people, depending on the size. And then, Mike, you also mentioned if there's different divisions, it could be a group from each place that wants to talk about this a little bit further. And then the idea after that would be to measure and then manage. So you could have someone like Shift essentially come and talk to you. You guys came and talked to me about my business. And the conversation wasn't the plumbing conversation. Like a lot of the time when people are talking about functional obsolescence, they're talking about, can it keep up with the programs and when does it no longer work? That is about the device, not about the performance. what we know is that you should probably change that metric, because that will no longer be a valuable device to this company earlier than that point. Right? So once they measure, then they can get into management. And even though we're saying that you should be using performance devices, that we're not suggesting you buy every employee a Tesla. Like, they're great. I have one. You should have one. Morgan, I'm talking to you. But what I'm suggesting more so is that you would want to determine if you want to be like one of the largest rental companies on the planet and buy 100,000 of them. Because it could be that at the rate you're going through whatever you have right now, that even though it's more expensive, it would be better over the long term.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's tough because a lot of the things we were talking about today is based off opinion. You say the word better, works out better. And that's the problem of the vision. And to Mike's point, unfortunately, it's the generation of the ownership of the company on what plans they're looking to get out of the company. Because as much as we're talking about technology, there's also business planning that these companies that we could be helping don't even have a business plan. And that has nothing to do with technology. They don't even know if they want to expand, double their workforce, release new products. Technology can assist with that. Go into a technology committee. Where's your business going? 3-year plan. Are you going to open up another city office, hire remote in-source people from Canada? You know, it's a really interesting idea that they might not even have a business plan to then approach with technology on how we can help with that plan.
Yep, I can see that. So what you're saying is that sometimes it's tough to help because the business that needs the help, they're at this evolutionary point where they have to, they're almost like hardened into looking at this stuff like wear out, right?
Yep.
But that's the thing that like I wonder about. So for the companies that understand this, like there's so many merger and acquisition opportunities. Like it's just so rich right now.
Yeah. And it's a very simple mentality of, are you reactive or are you proactive? And that's in such a fast-paced world on how we started the call of, you know, used to be meeting every year. Now it's 90 days. Now you could meet every day. It's the fact of your mentality on your day-to-day basis on how you breathe in your company is, are you reactive and your server's failing? You're going to go buy a new server down the street, throw it in, hopefully it works. Or are you proactively replacing your fridge because you heard a sound and it's rumbling and you're more planning rather than just flying cowboy at the hip? And there's different mentalities.
Yeah, and I think when you paint that broad brushstroke of generational and operational and planned and didn't plan and not sure where you want to go or sure where you want to go, I think if you put every one of those scenarios into a bucket, and I have one word to tell every one of them because they'll all need to share in this one word, it's reinvest. Take your prosperity and ask yourself, how do we reinvest in our business? And if technology is not one or two, people, technology, people, then it doesn't matter whether you have a plan or not, you're still going to fail. You need to be reinvesting in your businesses right now, and you need to understand what's important, your people and your technology.
So talk me through this, because there's some news this week related to this. What do you see here, Scott?
Yeah, so one of the things that Dominos is dealing with right now, and if you scroll down, I don't know if you can scroll down in that article a little bit. Do you guys even have Dominos in Canada?
Hell yeah. Good.
So Dominos has got some price issues. Good. Yeah, we do too, but I live too far away out of the delivery zone. So Dominos is first of all having struggle finding delivery people, enough people to deliver its pizzas. That's a supply chain shortage. It's the delivery part of the product. That's a major problem. Domino's also made the business decision to invest millions of dollars in purchasing coupons for other restaurants in the local communities, or gift cards in the local communities, at least here in the United States. It says, don't use a delivery service, use us, and here's a potential gift card for one of the other locally owned restaurants in the community. Brilliant community-based marketing. Well done, Domino's. Love that. But you don't have the drivers to deliver the pizzas, and you've created enemies out of the drivers that are working for the other delivery companies, like the Uber Eats and the Feastifies, which is a great Canadian company, right? And so now what are you doing? You can't deliver them, but yet you want to compete with the delivery agencies. Now you made foe instead of friend, and now you're going to have to hire those people and pay them a lot more money. And pizza is a high volume, low margin business. So that's a three-front war that you just pretty much self-created. And that ties directly into everything we've been talking about planning or not planning, and understanding where to reinvest and not reinvest, and the importance of the technology. So for me, it's a technology question now. How do we get our drivers to be more productive and more effective? And one of the things I've seen technology-wise inside the pizza industry is being able to say to the driver, all right, here's 9 pizzas. And the old rule was the first person to order is the first one you deliver. So it looks like they're going 20 miles to go 2 miles, to go back to 8 miles, to go back to 6 miles. But there's mapping software that says, here's your pizzas and here's the order you should deliver them, so that you're the most productive and efficient and you get back to the store fast enough. Well, most pizza delivery shops, including ones the size of Domino's, are going, how do we get that installed? And that's where companies like Shift solve problems as big as the one you just brought up on the screen. So there's an answer. There's a way through, but boy, it's crisis mode for Domino's right now.
Very good point, Scott. So if you look at the fact of, well, now is a problem of labor shortage, and now we don't have delivery drivers. Now Domino's, like poo-poo, can't deliver pizzas. But we're in a situation where if they were to innovate beforehand and realize that the system that they're using to deliver those 5 pizzas is not strategically designed to then be back at the shop with no pizzas in your hand anymore and happy people who aren't hungry anymore, then if they innovated beforehand, then they wouldn't be in this position anymore. If Uber didn't come out, would CoOp have designed a system to then, like, full online app just like Uber but for CoOp? Or have you guys heard of Kodak or Blockbuster? There's a couple companies that come to mind, like those two, that were in a very powerful market. They had a fantastic vision, and then they just still had that vision and hope for the best. And then it's just they fizzle away because the strong survive. Because you didn't innovate, you didn't think forward, you weren't proactive. You just hoped you had the best idea ever. And let's just keep on trucking.
They had a good idea that they didn't continue on, though. So when they made friends with all of those businesses around them, could they not have effectively crowdfunded a driver for everybody? Like, like they could have ended up looking to distribute this a little bit, share with some of the people around them. And if you really want to take the fight to Uber Eats or Skip the Dishes or whoever you want to call out, I think that's a great strategy to web together entrepreneurs. Like, I know that
could.
Yeah, could.
That's the innovation world. It's the proactive could. It's the ideas that come on the table and throw at the wall what sticks. They could have done so much. But co-ops sat there for years, Uber dominating them on a global basis, and Uber doesn't own any cars. Like, it's just a completely different mentality of taxi driver, I'm here, good afternoon, like Mr. Robot trying to figure out life, and Uber's just like, we'll take all that business, thank you.
Yeah, but take that example about Uber, and let's talk about growth versus scale. That's the issue, and you just nailed it. Uber built their technology infrastructure first, and then they tested it in select markets. Uber is a technology company, and Uber knows they're a technology company. So drivers want to drive for Uber because the technology is so good. They're productive, they're efficient, and they make money, and they own their vehicle. So Uber's a technology company. I would argue that Domino's is a delivery company.
Mhm.
So if you're in the delivery business and you recognize that, no, we're not, Scott, we're in the pizza business. How's that going for you? So the point that you make is very, very valid. Is understand what your business truly is. What is its true functionality, and build it to scale before it starts to grow and get away from you, or you face big ticket problems like this example here.
That
You know what,
Domino's can't deliver.
I was really surprised that given how rental cars and everything like that went with COVID, why didn't we, like, it would have been cool to see a rental car company acquire a company like Domino's or vice versa. That would have been like a great alignment just based on like how things rolled out. Hindsight's 2020. But talk about like solving your challenge. If you could provide cars to people and find a way to make leases work, you could essentially deliver for yourself and others. But these are the things that you actually need to move IT into the executive to see, is to say like, hey, our pain point is delivery right now. And then shift the way that you guys have approached like my business is you looked at the core process and you said, okay, here are all the handoffs between humans and computers. Here are all the things that are involved. What I realized is that I employed several systems that I didn't have enough work for. And the handoffs to them were really creating a lot of issues. And those were a draw, just like if I had employees that I wasn't using to their capacity, they're just in the wrong spot. So then at that point, you could say, okay, well, what could we do? And if you've revealed that the challenge is a technology, you can either try to get a service, you can try to get a consultant, or now you can try to find somebody who has what you got, right? Or has what you're missing. There's so many opportunities now that weren't there before. So the other thing that we were talking about, Scott, was we have a future guest here that was featured. I'm going to share screen here as well. And we have the director of the MBA program for Texas Mays M&A University. And let's share that here. So this was something that you had popped over to me as well.
Yeah, this is what education. This is what happens when real education meets real world. This is a company, Cisco. Again, not sure if you guys have them in Canada. They're actually a restaurant delivery, food delivery company, right? So they are in the business. You know, whatever restaurant you go to, they would supply that restaurant with just about everything on the menu, right? And Texas A&M, their MBA program, their business school, brings in these large companies to work with these students on real world issues. And these are senior level executives at Cisco, right? This is a head of HR kind of thing. They bring them in and say, all right, let's work on something together. Let's collaborate together. Let me see what you students are seeing, right? And this is teaching you how our company thinks and how our company goes through the execution, the critical thinking to execution of strategy. And so this is that sort of merger of technology, education, and real world when it all comes together, because it's been done virtually for the last 2 years for obvious reasons. But now they're starting to get together in person, and now it's going to be more of a live cast. Now it's going to be more of that, you know, all the students are going to watch this, and all the folks at Cisco will use it as a training tool. So this is where technology meets education, meets recruitment in HR, and meets critical thinking and execution strategy. So this is a great example of how all that is backbone by technology, but it's the confluence of all those great siloed ideas coming together across the educational platform into the execution.
And correction there, that was Richard A. Castleberry, and he is the director of the full-time MS and MBA program at Texas A&M University. And so the things that we've been learning from Richard over the last little while on LinkedIn and things is a lot about how he cares for culture, and he's going to be a guest here in a couple of weeks. But this actually has a question that's kind of jumping out at me for you guys. You were talking a little bit about the average age of leadership, Mike. The average age of leadership is going to affect how a company approaches technology. Now, what if I had a company that I was trying to change the average age? So we're really nervous about our older employees being disconnected by changes to technology. That's one of my fears. And the other fear is that I won't be able to recruit younger people if I'm not moving that direction. What do you think on that?
Invest in culture. I think culture is just the ultimate answer for that. If you invest in the culture, the people will come if you build it, and if you've done your research into how to make a fantastic culture that's inclusive of all generations, then people will want to be there and want to work for you.
That's amazing insight. That's definitely the way that I see it working around here. Is we know the people among us that need help, and it's the people next to them that are helping them. And I really think that if you wanted to make a gentle way for people to continue an adoption, it would almost work just the way that you were explaining, Morgan, where maybe somebody sees somebody take a great selfie and they're like, "Hey, how'd you do that?" And they're like, "Well, you have that as well, or you can get that here." I think that would be the next conversation. Where do you think the biggest point is? Like, is there a collective point that you think that most businesses should be looking at upgrading coming into 2022? Is there one piece that you think that almost everybody universally is having trouble with?
Communication.
Group collaboration, communication. Yeah. I think including those that are working remotely or working in different locations and maintaining that culture. It all comes down to effective communication.
Okay, so what are your favorite hardware and softwares approaching group collaboration where you've got hybrid workplaces?
It's customized. It depends on the way the company currently operates. Like Mike was saying, you can't do fast change. If you have a Google environment, you throw everything Microsoft, just say, click on this link instead. People don't like change. But if there's a tool that we have that's available that we know is very good, that could work for a company, it doesn't mean it will. Because every company operates differently based on what they think they're operating, based on their plan. We're trying to adopt different solutions for companies based on how it fits. And we find that's a huge opportunity to customize the solution for a company. And that's awesome.
So you could have the best tool possible, and if it doesn't get adopted, you just like blew your money.
It's not the fact that it blew your money. It's just you're wasting time. Like all you have is employees and time, and then money going to those employees, and hopefully you have good business. You touched on earlier about ideas coming from inside the company. I don't know how many people know this, but Gmail came from an employee at Google because their internal attitude and culture was that saying, any employee in the company, if you have a crazy idea, not only do I want you to bring it forward, I actually want you to put a proposal together to say, what budget do you need? How many people do you need? And how long is it going to take for you to conceptualize this idea? Like, put your money where your mouth is if you got some crazy idea. And that is Gmail. Because it came from someone was empowered to say, I hate email and I'm going to create it. And that's how it started. That started that fire. And we all know that employees used to be at companies for 60 years, straight. And now look today, people switch careers every few years. It's just the adaptive lifestyle that the people in the company matter more and more to keep them and retain them and know that they matter in the communication and the vision rather than just sit in that desk for 60 years and please work 9 to 5.
And hope a pension's still there at the end. Yes. Yeah. Unfortunate. Yeah. I'm a big fan. I'm going to throw my hat in the ring for Meet and VR as my favorite technology I've seen recently that I think will be phenomenal for. I saw it implemented for an executive meeting across Canada, and I thought that was a very interesting way, but I'd love to see it embraced more on a day-to-day basis. Check out their site, meetinvr.com. I don't have a referral code, just me throwing that out there. And I love the idea of the virtual reality collaboration. I think eventually that's going to move into an augmented reality collaboration in real time. But I can definitely see that happening more in the world we're moving into for 2022.
I couldn't be in alignment more, because when you take a look at like what happens when you remove people from their environment, and then think about the possibilities of not losing the convenience of being there. So you could take people to a place that would help them invoke a certain thought. Like really, I think that move is going to change education more than it changes anything. Like imagine a world where in VR you could have one teacher that's being live Google translated into any language that is the subject matter expert of whatever you're talking about, and you can have as many children in that classroom as possible, like infinitely, essentially. There's so many things that can be done that are going to be on the verge here, and this is why we're talking about this. The reason that we're talking about this right now is because if you're looking at this being a wear-out market, by the time you ever get to something like Meet in VR, man, like I cannot believe how far behind you would be.
Yeah. It's a fun, wonderful world we're in right now. So
that's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming by and talking with us a little bit today. Do you guys have anything else that you're looking into 2022 for before we close?
Helping more people, finding businesses that need help, need vision, need new ideas, and helping them as much as we can.
And keep them safe. Keep them safe. Keep their businesses operating. And we've evolved more into the security world just because it's a necessity to keep the companies we support up and running.
And you guys are hiring too right now, aren't you? You're on a scale strategy right now, isn't that where Shift is?
We are hiring, so feel free to reach out. Our postings are up, and if there isn't a posting that looks interesting, feel free to just shoot us an email, and then we'd love to chat.
Okay. Oh, that's fantastic, and I can't recommend them enough. When you take a look at who you get to work with, honestly, there's so many people that just lack inspiration. They lack a sense of adventure in what they do. And the way that you approach business, the way that you are curious towards all the possibilities, that makes you outstanding in your field. Because honestly, I think so many people have been treating IT people like they're just there to fix leaks, that's who they've attracted in many cases. And if you signed up to make changes and all you're doing is fixing leaks, like, you're just in the wrong spot. So definitely contact Mike and Morgan, or contact us, and we'll put you in direct connection. Anything else that you wanted to add before we close, Scott?
No, it's just good to see you guys keep doing what you're doing. I love the disruptive innovation. I love the way that I'm seeing you guys come alongside clients and really own the technology piece with them. It's great to watch you guys go and grow.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott.
Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us. This has been Leadership Line of Sight. I'm here, as always, with Scott Connors, Chief Change Officer of Crankset Group. If you're looking to make big changes in your business at a leadership level, maybe it would include some of the people that you talked here, and you can start by contacting Scott. And we've also got Morgan McCollum and Mike Alexander from Shift Support. So they are shifting perception. They are shifting so much in how we see how technology works with the people that work in our businesses. And my name is Taylor. I'm a marketing strategist. I'm a serial entrepreneur and so interested in everyone's. I just like that you guys talk business to me. So I appreciate everyone joining us, and I hope you have a remarkable week. Cheers.
Thanks a lot, guys.